Welcome back to the Explainer. Okay, we've got a lot to cover today, so let's just dive right in. If the last couple of years felt like this wild, chaotic, wide-eyed experimentation phase for artificial intelligence, well, August 2026 is the month the industry officially grew up. We are looking at a massive structural shift right now. The major players are maturing out of their experimental phases, and they're entering a highly consolidated, high-stakes, and frankly, ruthless new era. We're talking massive pivots, sneaky new paywalls, and historic public offerings. I mean, just let the sheer scale of this number sink in for a second. $2 trillion. This isn't just some abstract economic theory. This is the reported valuation target for Anthropic's impending initial public offering. $2 trillion. It really forces us to stop and ask, how on earth did the AI industry suddenly become so incredibly expensive? And how are these companies planning to actually justify these astronomical, sky-high price tags? To figure that out, we're going to break down 5 massive shifts happening across the industry right now. Ending the catch-up era, unifying the AI experience, monetizing the enterprise market, China's high-stakes power play, and finally, that $2 trillion race. All right, starting with shift number 1, ending the catch-up era by tearing down legacy architecture. The big tech giants aren't just slapping AI onto old products anymore. They're aggressively gutting them. And honestly, nothing illustrates this paradox better than Apple right now. Just this week, Apple eliminated over 200 roles across their legacy Siri teams, the intelligent systems experience, and they largely shut down the Vision Pro gaming unit. And here's the crazy part, in that exact same week, they are shipping a completely rebuilt Siri AI in their developer betas. They are literally shrinking their legacy teams while rolling out their most advanced AI product ever at the exact same time. It is essentially like tearing down the airplane mid-flight. They are shifting all their resources entirely toward new AI-native devices and smart glasses. But to pull this off without totally crashing, well, Apple is leaning heavily on their $1 billion collaboration with Google. They're betting the farm that the Google Gemini architecture can carry the core product, while Apple completely rebuilds its internal teams around it. So with all this intense behind-the-scenes demolition, how is this new AI backbone actually going to show up on your phone?
Well, here are the specifics of the rollout. The rebuilt Siri AI is currently expanding across the iOS 27, iPadOS 27, and macOS Golden Gate developer betas, and it's using Gemini 3.6 Flash as its foundational backbone. It's not a totally smooth global launch, though. If you're in the European Union, the launch is still actively blocked thanks to Digital Markets Act compliance delays. But despite that regulatory hurdle, Apple's hardware focus has officially shifted toward those new AI-native devices and smart glasses.
Moving on to shift number 2. Unifying the AI experience into cohesive platforms. Now, it's not just Apple doing some massive spring cleaning. Pretty much every major tech company is currently scrambling to unify their fragmented software features. Just think about the timeline for August alone. It is an absolute calendar crunch. You've got DeepSeek's rapid-fire funding and product launches early in the month, Microsoft aggressively killing off apps on the 18th, and then Google rolling out unified workspace commands on the 26th. The frantic pace of these updates dropping is just wild. Let's actually zoom in on Microsoft for a second, because their strategy here is absolutely ruthless. They are rolling out one single unified Copilot app experience by just axing their specialized fragmented apps. Goodbye Copilot podcasts, group chat, and consumer deep research. Microsoft is throwing all its weight into a single platform so they can go head-to-head with ChatGPT and Gemini without confusing their users. And across the board, the big three are totally laser-focused on enterprise workflows right now. ChatGPT is locking in things like pinned chat syncs across devices, Claude is tightening up their MCP and plugin security for developers, and Microsoft is actually letting you generate live interactive HTML dashboards right inside SharePoint. They are all polishing this core experience to make themselves completely indispensable to your workday. Which leads us perfectly into section 3, monetizing the enterprise market. Because, yep, the free ride is ending. So what is the ultimate goal of all these highly polished features? Aggressive monetization. We all know what a paywall is, right? A system designed to block you from the good stuff until you fork over a subscription fee. Well, get ready, because they are about to start popping up in places you'd least expect. Here's a prime example that was quietly sitting inside the macOS Golden Gate beta. Apple is going to require an iCloud Plus 2 TB subscription just to use Apple Intelligence for generating motion alert summaries on your HomeKit cameras. Yep, they are quietly adding paywalls to basic home automation features that most users assumed were just standard capabilities out of the box. They're definitely starting to squeeze consumers for AI functionality. And honestly, the whole industry is laying traps for future revenue. Google is literally handing out a year of free AI Pro to students just to get them hooked and build future paid habits. Meanwhile, OpenAI is pushing strict zero data retention options for paying enterprise clients, all while the free tier of ChatGPT is buckling under the strain, suffering from these routine Friday 3:12 p.m. ET outages. Anthropic is launching Claude Academy to teach AI fluency. It's all different strategies driving toward the exact same endgame, funneling you into a lucrative subscription.
Okay, let's pivot to Section 4, China's high-stakes power play.
Because this aggressive squeeze for monetization, it is definitely not just a Silicon Valley thing. Let's look to the east. On August 13th, DeepSeek officially launched V4 Pro, and this model emphasizes incredible autonomous agent capabilities paired with a massive 1 million token context window. To put that into perspective, it can process and remember the equivalent of dozens of thick textbooks in a single prompt. It's a huge technological leap, and it fundamentally changed their business model literally overnight.
Just think about this pricing pivot. DeepSeek completely reversed its previous race-to-zero strategy. With the launch of V4 Pro, they hiked their API prices anywhere from 50% to a staggering 1,100%, depending on the tier. They know for a fact they have a premium product now, and they are moving aggressively to capitalize on premium pricing.
Why the massive hike? Well, that pivot is designed to support this eye-watering number, $74 billion. DeepSeek has reopened its external funding round, targeting an $8 billion raise at this massive $74 billion valuation, and they're doing all of this while preparing for a major listing on Shanghai's Star Market, which is essentially China's equivalent to the NASDAQ. And that brings us to our fifth and final shift, the $2 trillion race. DeepSeek's Star Market Prep sets the stage for our final climax today, the absolute explosion of public market showdowns arriving this fall. Remember that $2 trillion number from the very beginning? Let's put that in context. The current record holder for the largest public debut ever is SpaceX, which listed at $1.77 trillion. Anthropic is currently briefing investors with a target valuation above $2 trillion. We are talking about unprecedented, record-breaking financial stakes here. We're basically watching a high-stakes game of poker between these industry titans. Anthropic is prepping to file its public IPO registration before the end of August, aiming for an October debut window. But OpenAI is simultaneously preparing its own listing right now. The dynamic is fascinating. Whichever company goes public first will effectively write the rules, dictate the market sentiment, and completely rewrite the other guy's roadshow. And here is why this matters to every single one of us. The outcomes of these upcoming IPOs over the next 60 days are going to serve as the ultimate validation or the ultimate shattering of the astronomical investments poured into artificial intelligence over the past 3 years. It is straight up the biggest public market test of tech valuations since the dot-com bubble. We've seen the unification of fragmented apps, the quiet rise of home paywalls, the end of legacy teams, and massive price hikes across the globe. The experimental phase is done. So I've got to leave you with this. With the race to zero officially over and a $2 trillion crown on the line, which AI giant do you think is actually going to define this ruthlessly competitive next era? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you next time as we continue to break down the most important shifts in tech.